people
No.
connected, so I think that we are
Okay.
good to start. So we
Okay.
can, you know, keep on time.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all the participants of this very first webinar organized by EKOME and UNESCO-MIL Alliance EU Subchapter Mediterranean Group. I'm Irene Andriopoulou from Research Studies and Educational Programs Department of EKOME. From EKOME, the National Center of Audiovisual Media and Communication in Athens, Greece. This webinar takes place within the UNESCO 2020 Global MIL Week celebrations all over the world, where I also have the honor to serve as Co-Secretary General of the International Steering Committee. So this is the first webinar from a series of webinars within the Mediterranean Group that comes under the theme Raising Media and Information Literacy Skills Through Policies and Practices in the Mediterranean, attempting to highlight and map the actions in the region. So we will have the regulatory aspect, the creative industry aspect, and the school education in MIL aspect. And these leading in their fields experts are here with us today to testimony this. But before I move closer to introducing our panelists, I would like to invite the President and CEO of EKOME, Panos Kouanis, for a short welcome to this webinar. Panos.
Irene, thank you. Well, dear friends, first of all, I would like to welcome you all to this first of many to come digital discussions, or webinars as we call them, on media and information literacy topics hosted by our organization, EKOME, the National Center of Audiovisual Media and Communication in Greece, under its capacity as the coordinator of the European Subchapter Mediterranean Group of the UNESCO-MIL Alliance. Our organization, from the very beginning in 2018, showed great interest and placed in the forefront of its activities MIL. Why? Well, because we at EKOME understand that today we live in a digital world surrounded by digital media, feeding us with a very wide spectrum of information of any kind, visual, audio, or written. In this era, it is the duty of the state to provide to its constituents all the necessary tools in order to learn and understand the language and intricacies of the media and how information of any kind is created and disseminated. In this context, we created in 2018 our first white paper on MIL, which was our initial point of view and strategic guide for MIL for the first 3 years of our operation. Today, as many things have changed since then, both within our organization and also in the world, we are currently reviewing it, and soon we will announce a new strategy for the years to come regarding media information literacy at EKOME. From the very beginning back in 2018, for us, our collaboration with UNESCO and the GAPMIL Alliance was a key component of our strategy for developing MIL education and awareness in Greece. By becoming a member of the GAPMIL Alliance, we became a member of a global family, a part of an international community of experts, and through this interaction so far, we learned a lot, and we keep learning on how Greek constituents may become more literate when it comes to MIL. But we didn't stop there. That was not enough for us. We soon became aware of the fact that in our region, the Mediterranean, MIL was not as developed as in other parts of Europe and the rest of the world. So along with UNESCO and the GAPMIL International Steering Committee, we took the initiative to create the EU Subchapter Mediterranean Group of the UNESCO-MIL Alliance, which we would like to see it expand and grow in order to become a platform for MIL education and awareness in our region, in our countries. So far, our group consists of 35 organizations from 10 different countries: Albania, Bosnia-Herzegovina, Cyprus, France, Greece, Italy, Malta, Montenegro, Slovenia, and Spain. From now on, through our developing collaboration, we will be able to create partnerships and initiatives, exchange ideas and knowledge in order to succeed in our common goal, which is to promote MIL globally. In this respect, and in order to promote public discourse on MIL in our Mediterranean group, we have created 5 task forces on synergies, research, policy, creative industry, and formal education. From now on, we will start working closer, organizing more events and promoting more initiatives. And in order for that to succeed, we will need your active collaboration and participation. So thank you for becoming part of the UNESCO-MIL Alliance, and thank you even more for becoming a member of the European subchapter Mediterranean group of the UNESCO-MIL Alliance. I look forward to working together towards our common goal. Closing, I would like to once more welcome you all and thank you for participating in this first webinar. First of all, as a part of the group of experts in the discussion, and at this point, I would like to personally thank for accepting our invitation and being here with us, Mrs. Monica Duran from the Catalonia Broadcasting Council. I must say that with the Catalonia Broadcasting Council, we have already started collaborating on a project funded by the European Union. It is called Edu Media Test, and it is an interactive tool for evaluation, training, and education. Partners in this project are, apart from us, the Portuguese Regulatory Authority for the Media, the Agency for Electronic Media of Croatia, the RVR from Slovakia, the Dublin West Education Center from Ireland, and the Conseil Supérieur de l'Audiovisuel, the CSA, in France. Mrs. Anaïs Adriaens-Allemand from CLEMI, the Centre pour l'Éducation, Média et l'Information, Mr. Vassilis Karamitsanis from Asifa and the Animasyros Festival, and of course, our moderator, our own Irene Andriopoulou, which is also the Co-Secretary General of the UNESCO-MIL Alliance. Last but not least, I would like to thank all our viewers. The topic, in my opinion, is very interesting and current. So stay tuned. Thank you very much. Irene, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Panos. Thank you for the inspiring introduction too. Certainly we have many things ahead for EKOME, so stay tuned. Just some technical issues before I introduce you the guest speakers. For our speakers, please make sure your microphone is muted in order to avoid any background noise. And for our attendees, please send your questions in the Q&A section, and we will try to answer as many as possible at the end of the webinar. So we move on fast. I would like to introduce first Anaïs Adriaens-Allemand from France. She's the International Project Manager of CLEMI, the French Media and Information Literacy Center. She's graduated from the College of Europe and the Institute of Political Science in Grenoble. She has not only worked as speechwriter and advisor for studies and for the French Minister of State and European Affairs. Next, we have Monica Duran from Spain, Barcelona. She's responsible for the international relations of the Catalan Audiovisual Council. She has a law degree from the Universitat Autònoma de Barcelona, an executive master in diplomacy and foreign affairs from the UPF University. And she's also the guest speaker in a Master of Arts in Communication Management. Last and certainly not least, we have Vassilis Karamitsanis. Born in Athens, Vassilis is a licensed attorney at law and president to Asifa, Hellenic Animation Association, and Animasyros International Animation Festival. He is also elected member of Board of Directors of CIFES, International Center of Films for Children and Young People. But above all, Vassilis is a charismatic and vivid personality with a unique love for arts and animation. So we move with our questions. I remind you that each guest speaker, you have 5 minutes approximately for per each question. So UNESCO Global MIL Week has officially started on Saturday, October 24th, and it will last until October 31st. It is being celebrated in over 193 countries all over the globe, with a variety of events and initiatives. And this year's theme is Resisting the Infodemic, Media and Information Literacy for Everyone and by Everyone, with a focused eye on the pandemic's repercussion on social and economic level. So are there any projects or initiatives in your organization that deal with MIL skills with an emphasis on disinformation that could serve as a good example for exchange of knowledge, especially during COVID-19 crisis? Let's start with Monica from Spain. Monica.
Okay, now, Kalispera, Apoti Barceloni. Hello from Barcelona. I would like to answer the questions with a PowerPoint presentation, if I'm allowed. So I think that it will help me to go through these questions that Irene was mentioning, okay? Okay, let's go. Let's start. Okay. First of all, thank you very much, Mr. Kouanis. Thank you very much, Irene. Thank you very much, EKOME, for the kind invitation to participate in this webinar celebrating the UNESCO GAPMIL Global Week. We are very happy to participate, and we think that it's a great opportunity that we can exchange good practices, I mean, in the Mediterranean region, no? Which I think that, as Mr. Kouanis was addressing in his speech, it's important that we push and push a lot more in this near future. First question regarding our projects. The Catalan Audiovisual Council is a regulatory authority. What do we do? So we regulate media. There's, you know, it's regulation, purely regulation. But from our start, we have a more broadened approach than just regulating media and monitoring the contents once they have been broadcasted, okay? So we think that media literacy is a very effective tool to complement the effects of regulation, self-regulation, and co-regulation. Our media literacy program is called EduCAC. Here you have, I attach you the webpage. And the EduCAC includes 3 big branches: teaching materials for schools, content and proposal for families, and the CAC School Awards. The school materials are, its main aim, its main objective is to empower, it's to train children and adolescents to be more critical towards the contents they consume, as well as to help them to be more responsible when they are uploading contents, okay? So here we have been working for some ad hoc projects with different public agents like the Catalan Ministry of Education, professional journalists, and also the public service media, as well as the foundation of the biggest bank in Spain. Teaching materials, they are aimed to students aged to 10 to 16 years. We are working now in materials for also primary school. They have been developed in partnership with a multidisciplinary team of experts in pedagogy, teaching, psychopedagogy, etc., etc. And these materials were officially launched in November 2018. The most recent data that I would like to share with you is that we have already 2,096 people already registered in order to access to these materials. Okay, so this number makes us very happy. And also we issue a newsletter and we have 1,320 subscribers. Okay. The teaching materials are based in 4 branches: teaching units, classroom projects, adjacent cross-cutting pathways, and tutorials. Teaching units. We have 1 teaching unit devoted to fake news. And this is the one that I would like to talk more about it, because I know that you are much more interested in the effects, no, or how we, the project that we have regarding fake news. So one of the teaching units is devoted to fake news. I would like to share with you a video that we have been trying just a few minutes before we started the webinar. And although you cannot hear it, you can read the subtitles. It's a very short video of 50 seconds. This is a video that it's work in the classroom when the pupils and the teacher are working this fake news unit. Okay, so this is just a short video. Okay, so you can see, because there are time limits constraints, but you can see one example of the material that is treated in the classroom. Okay, so one of the units to spot the fake news that we are working, that the teachers are working with their pupils. Not only fake news is treated just to spot fake news. Fake news, we also have different units that are related to fake news, no? Regarding filter bubbles. Here is a video that you can watch when you have the opportunity. Citizen journalism, as well, we have attached another video, and the effect of YouTubers. So filter bubble, citizen journalists, and YouTubers, the new idols. We want as well that the pupils and the teacher think about the effects of having the news, of getting this information only from one point of view. Okay, so these are several units, several materials where the teachers and the pupils can work and discover the effects of disinformation, misinformation, infoxication, and fake news. Okay, so this would be one of the projects that we have been working for the pupils in terms of fake news. Also, the teaching materials, pupils can work in classroom projects. Also, there are cross-cutting pathways, but this is besides fake news. And also, they can work in tutorials on audiovisual techniques and narratives, okay? Besides the materials for schools, we have internet use guides for families and recommendations that we post in our webpage of EduCAC. And we have the CAC School Awards. So these are the three branches: materials for schools with this specific unit regarding fake news. We have materials for families, recommendations, and documents. And we have CAC School Awards, in which, as you can see, over 400 projects, most of them are working in projects of fake news and infodemic and disinformation. All of the projects are uploaded in our page. So if you have further interest, I can share with you the page. We also have the media literacy platform with 60 people coming from different fields: the educative, the academia, and different stakeholders working in the field of media literacy here in Catalonia. There is one working group that we have just launched that is going to be specialized in fake news. So this is another way, besides the EduCAC, but belonging to EduCAC program, that the CAC fosters, promotes the workings regarding fake news. Specific campaigns regarding fake news. We have launched during the pandemic time one campaign that in Catalan it's "A mi no m'enganyen," in English is "They Don't Fool Me," and it's to, you know, the overall aim is to encourage critical analysis and responsible technology use. And one of these is that I don't believe what I'm consuming. I am going to be critic. So this is the objective with this campaign. You know, I don't have to trust 100% what I get. I have to be critical and I have to be empowered. So here as well, I was attaching you the spot, but I will share with you just for a few seconds. So this spot was broadcasted on a free basis by the public service media here in Catalonia, and television and radio. And also we counted with YouTubers that they have altogether more than 1 million of followers, giving messages regarding this campaign. Okay, so these they don't fool me. It's a comprehensive campaign, also having a part of fake news. Okay, so this is one campaign that we launched during the pandemic. Another campaign that we launched during the pandemic: Stop, Think, and Check. So here you have the link to the campaign, and this Stop, Think and Check, it's a set of 8 recommendations in order to, they are more aimed to the fact checking, okay? Again, to check the source, to check for other points of view, to recommend, not only have always one source of information, and so on. So this is another campaign that we launched during the campaign. The pandemic, sorry. These are campaigns that we have launched, but they are mixed. They are containing some elements of fake news, and there are all others that not. For instance, I don't know, the using of screens, the techno addictions, etc., etc. So here you have an overview of the different campaigns that we have launched as well, that they are more touching different aspects. So the first one, the Stop Corona Timo, Stop Corona Ripoff, it's about the, it's the one having, being more related to fake news. It's the people that they deny that the coronavirus exists. And the other ones are different campaigns that we have launched during this pandemic time, and that, as I was saying, they are focused on different aspects, no? Techno addictions, using of screens, digital identity, etc., etc. And last but not
Sorry,
least,
Monica, we have to go fast.
yes,
because
yes, this is the last one. This is the last one. This is the last campaign, and this is after the first wave was over. A set of experts explaining what we have learned from the pandemic time regarding the use of technology. And thank you very much. This would be my second
yes.
question. So thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Monica. You're doing so many things.
Yes.
You are a regulatory authority, but you are expanded everywhere in MIL in Spain. So kudos to you. Let's move on with Vassilis Karamitsanis. Vassilis, please tell us your projects and initiatives during the pandemic with regards to MIL.
Let me introduce also a PowerPoint presentation regarding what we do, just clarifying that our organization is a private organization. Both of the NGOs I represent are in the private sector. The first one is Asifa Hellas, which is the umbrella organization of all animation-related industry members in Greece. And the second is Animasyros, which is an international festival taking place on the island of Syros in the Cyclades since 2008. Moving on to further information, what is exactly Asifa Hellas? Asifa Hellas was an initiative as an informal group of individuals, which was established back in 2008 and became an official NGO in 2015, and it's legally seated in Athens, Greece, and is the Greek national chapter of Association Internationale de Films d'Animation, in initials Asifa, which is represented in over 50 nations around the world, and is legally seated in Annecy, which is the center of the largest animation event in the world, which is the Annecy Film Festival and Market. So Asifa Hellas is representing Greek animation professionals, not only in Greece, of course, stressing in Greece and nationwide in Greece, but also worldwide. And it has fostered the international promotion of Greek animators and producers of animation talent in cooperation not only with the Greek state and state authorities, but also with private entities like foundations and private companies. Since years, we collaborate closely with EKOME, the Hellenic National Center for Audiovisual Media and Communication, in a range of activities, which stand among the large range of activities of Asifa Hellas. The most important, I would say, the cardinal activity of collaboration with EKOME and cardinal activity of Asifa Hellas itself is the, since 4 years, annual presence with the Greek national delegation and the National Hellenic Pavilion to the Annecy International Festival and Market. This has been very important because it's a festival hosting a big market where people and nations can show their output. So is doing Greece since 4 years now. What is Animasyros? So before we talked about the umbrella, and now we talk about a hook hanging from the umbrella, and actually is the largest animation festival in Greece. So it hosts a festival and a market is dedicated to the art of animation, and is hosted on the island of Syros in the Cyclades, and it was established back in 2008. It has evolved over the years into the largest animation event in Greece, and it was characterized as among the 20 most important of its genre worldwide. Our program is based on 3 pylons. The first one is, of course, self-evident, is a large number of film screenings in 3 diverse, distinct competition programs and a number of information programs, a large number of media literacy workshops, applied animation workshops, for which I'm going to speak right after, and a marketplace, which we call it, according to the Greek ancient name for the marketplace, both in Greek and English, agora, signifying the exchange of ideas and products in the field of animation among professionals from around the world. The latest edition of Animasyros, which was a digital edition, a hybrid edition of both physical and digital screenings and sessions, was completed in the 27th of September 2020, whereas according to our current plannings, the next festival, which is going to be an anniversary festival coinciding with the 200 years anniversary from the Greek Revolution, is planned for the 22nd to the 26th of September. All these events have been since 5 years actually, linked to EKOME. Since 2 years, EKOME is the presenting sponsor of Animasyros, helping a lot to its growth of appeal and international networking. So what we do for media literacy, we do kind of a lot and to many different kind of target groups, ranging from kids at first or second school age. We distinguish into 8 to 12 years. Of course, we make no distinction to gender of kids, and we try to incorporate in our kids and teenagers workshops, kids from diverse social backgrounds, especially focusing on people from underprivileged environments. Then we address a lot young professionals. When we talk about young professionals, they can be students of different media, animation or fine arts universities, as well as people who have already graduated or post-graduated from this kind of schools. And of course, we bring very different kind of educators. So educators, they don't come from Greece or only from Europe. We have we try to use educators, animators, and people active in the field of media literacy from around the world. We do work a lot and strategically with people with disabilities. Here we mentioned just the Syros national regional structure for disability, which is the Disability Daycare Center of Syros, but we do a lot about disability throughout the year, also outside the Syros Island structures. We, since 3 years, work with senior citizens. Senior citizen is a very special target group for animation and for the visual literacy in general. Why? Because Europe, and especially Southern Europe, and especially Mediterranean Europe, and more especially Greece, is one of the nations with a very, very large percentage of people over 65. This is not a very optimistic, of course, reality, but it's something that you have to tackle with. And it was stunning since the 4 years that we organized senior citizens workshops, that people from the local elderly care structures, they participate enthusiastically. People who have never used a laptop or a smartphone or even a tablet, and they were finding kind of, they have kind of a hate against all these kind of crazy gadgets. Now they use it gladly in order to express themselves and develop their media skills. We also work a lot in a country which has suffered under heavy social and financial crisis for over 10 years. We did have to work a lot with other socially exposed social groups, like inmates in detention centers, people in drugs and gambling rehabilitation structures, people with HIV/AIDS, and this not just once, but repeatedly. Why? Because media literacy, especially in its informal format, requires repetition in order to build skills, requires repetition in order to build on teamwork, requires repetition in order to make the means of animation familiar to the beneficiaries. We also have worked with refugees. Greece is the country receiving the largest number of refugee populations right now and since the beginning of the refugee crisis in Europe. So we couldn't overlook this thing. Just to finish with what we do, I would like to show you some pictures of previously and currently organized animation media literacy workshops. This is an outdoor kinetic animation workshop for people with disabilities. Normally we do distinction between mental disability and motion disability, but here you see a combination of both. Since it was one of the first years we organized such a workshop, and we wanted to be as much inclusive as possible. The lady showing with the hand in the green uniform is one of the 2 educators. Now we have 2 educators supporting people with disabilities, and of course some of their social workers are also present here. This is this year's animation workshop under the situation of the COVID and all the precautions we need to take. So we had, of course, restricted numbers of participants. We have gymnasium students. For those who don't know, gymnasium is what we call the middle school in Greece, just before Lyceum, and it's 3 years after elementary school. So people and participants are mostly adolescents, teens who visit the school, and sometimes they don't even have the chance to have any kind of artistic stimuli. So it has operated this year like previous years in the framework and with the support of the secondary education structures of the Cyclades-Allemand complex. And this is very important. Why? Because the Ministry of Education really gladly embraced since years this kind of structures, aspiring to get them more mainstream in more schools into more curricular or extracurricular content. So here you can see a calligraphic workshop done, of course, with all the measures for security and safety due to the COVID pandemic, which had to be done mainly outside in outdoor places because the indoor places required very, very low participation, so it was impossible. So only editing has been done indoors. The whole other workshop has been designed to be performed outdoors. Here you see separated indoors workshop for elementary school students. We work also with the elementary school departments of the state, of the Ministry of Culture, in the department of the Cyclades-Allemand complex, in order to assure, first of all, that these people build their own media skills, but also, most importantly and most strategically, these are the future audiences for animation and for a festival. I may tell you that we started back in 2008 with the first workshop for kids, and now these kids who participated in this first initial workshop back in 2008, now they're graduates of super prestigious media schools and fine art schools around the world, and they're doing their career. And it all started from a stimulus at a small, by then, animation workshop, which dared to organize, along with the school program, an animation workshop. Here we are not allowed, of course, to show any faces, but this is the most recent drugs rehabilitation structure beneficiaries workshop. So we work with people who are fighting for their lives, who are fighting for their health, in the middle of COVID, taking all the measures. And normally we engage educators who have a special sensitivity in developing media literacy schemes with people of vulnerable social background. Last one but not least, of course, is the workshop with senior citizens. So you see really old people getting enthusiastic about editing after having shot their animations, and being even more enthusiastic when we present the outcome of these workshops in the closing ceremony of each year's festival edition. And of course, again, talking strategically, you're in a belated time, you build digital skills, you build media awareness to these people, media literacy awareness to these people. At the same time, you make them the best audience for the festival and all the festival sessions. So you mainstream to the local society while allowing them to grow their own digital skills. This is all for the first question.
Thank you very much, Vassili. What I like especially from Animasyros is that you use the animation in the service for social purposes. I mean, you're doing social services through the animation workshops for social minorities, for refugees and senior citizens through a very good promotional work. But let's move to Anaïs. Can you please share with us, I know CLEMI has been really active during the pandemic, so we would love to hear what you have done. Thank you.
Sure, thank you, Irene, Mr. Kouanis, EKOME and GAPMIL for inviting CLEMI to participate in this webinar. In France, media literacy is a long-term concern because CLEMI has been created in the early 80s based on an educational approach to train free and enlightened citizens. And CLEMI is a public operator of the Ministry of National Education. So we have this education approach, and our mission is to train teachers to a better knowledge of the news media system and to build children's citizenship skills by providing tools and fostering their critical thinking of media and information. So CLEMI is the French reference operator for the training of teachers, the production of pedagogical resources to accompany them, and the development of media practices in school, and the organization of educational actions such as Press and Media Week at school. Our approach is mainly based on partnership, as CLEMI is working as a go-between, bringing together institutional, associative, and media actors around its project. We have a national team linked to a network of academic coordinators covering the entire French territory and playing a crucial role between all actors concerned, because their mission is to initiate on the field MIL projects and to coordinate the community of teacher trainers within the school. So they have a direct contact with the field, which is a major asset for our network efficiency and our legitimacy towards teacher when we are doing training with them. So as I said, each year we organize a Press and Media Week at school. It is our major event. It offers pupils the opportunity to discover the plurality of the media sector and to discuss with media professionals through workshops, media visits. It involves thousands of teachers, schools, and students. And as you can imagine, in the COVID context, it was a bit more complicated. So in 2020, it was supposed to start on the first day where the quarantine started in France. So we had to adapt pretty quickly in order to provide content for teachers and for families, because families were very involved in the educational process. So the Press and Media Week at school turned into the Press and Media Week at home. We took our main action and we tried to transfer them to this online dimension. So the provision of online resources for parents and teachers, and the increase of distance learning offered for teachers. We have an approach based on skills rather than an approach based on use. So instead of acting to fight against disinformation, or even more precisely on disinformation on COVID, we prefer to work to give students and parents the skills to learn how to be informed, how to verify an information, how to do a reverse image search, how to question the source of an information. So we are developing a pedagogy of learning by doing, and we support the creation of school media, such as web television, web radio, blog, newspaper. In a classical context, I will say, we do each year a competition called Mediatics, which is a competition of school media. Of course, in the COVID context, the competition was a bit more complicated to organize. But however, the approach of learning by doing seems to be even more relevant, and the importance of school media became even more accurate, because it allows students to express themselves on the current health crisis, on all the questions it raises for them, to reflect on the world around them, to create a bond with their classmates who were also in quarantine. So it was a way to help the teacher create, have a more classroom spirit going on, even though every children was at their own home. So teachers and young reporters very soon got organized, and online newspaper, radio show, web TV devoted to the COVID crisis poured in. And it was very impressive for us, because as the students showed a lot of creativity, and they became chronicler of their own quarantine, putting words on their daily life, questioning disinformation by their own articles, their own information. The second point we did is that we developed resources and training offer on the subject of science and scientific information. It is possible for a teacher, an educator, to talk about science and scientific culture without being a scientific specialist himself or herself. The objective is to help children develop skills to build their own scientific spirits. And the aim for our training was to give teachers the tools to provide students with spaces for reflection, to help them understand how information and science are constructed. So in a way, COVID forced us to very actively reorganize our training, develop online training that was not so much developed here in France on the teacher training field. For instance, we have a serious game called Classe Investigation, which is organized usually in class, where students, people are encouraged to play and act as a journalist, investigate on an information, look for sources, and at the end of the game, they record their own TV intervention. Through COVID, we organized teacher training on how to organize this game, to help teachers using it with their students, and it showed to be very successful. So it helped us to train even more teachers than we usually do, because usually we have to organize the transport and to have all teachers at the same time, which can be quite complicated, because teachers all have their constraint and they have their school time. But online it was more efficient, and it helped us to train lots of teachers, and this game become even more used in class. So for 2020, we are trying to learn from that crazy time. The Press and Media Week at school, at least its title for now, will be taking place. The subject is inform yourself to understand the world, but we are trying to organize a mix of online activities and in-class activities and teacher trainings to make sure that a more classic structure will be able to take place through this period.
Thank you, Anaïs. We have many things in common in Greece too, because EKOME also works closely with the Ministry of Education through a student-oriented approach and this experience-based learning. So it's a very basic step to begin with. Time is running out, so we have to move fast to the second question, which is what steps, in your opinion, need to be taken for putting forward more specific strategies on MIL, like in the field of synergies, research, school education, lifelong learning, in order to have this chain gain effect? Vassilis, can you please tell us your opinion on this? Thank you.
Yes, I'll let you just go slowly on I just explained what the state of play of our organization in the field of media literacy is. I'm going to show you a little bit what happened this year with all this rapid reform in all fields of audiovisual culture and education, which of course imposed huge changes to a cultural and media organization like ours. So I'll share my screen now in order to show you what we were imposed to do and how it's going to change the future, even if we disregard this, because the situation is never going to be the same in the field of audiovisual media. So our festival, and I think the paradigm of the festival this year, had to adapt to a new situation. That's why it was named not just with its name and the number of the edition, but we added live. We could add alive. And this is all about the audiovisual sector this year after the COVID pandemic, which has struck, especially in Europe, very largely this sector. So we had to switch the fidget of physical and digital festival operation throughout the year, change the whole structure of having a predominant physical operation. And this applies also to the workshops and to the media literacy programs. They had to readapt into the new digital era. Of course, we didn't have only specially arranged and only outdoor physical screens. We did have 3 digital screening halls, which means that we had to buy a platform and lease a platform in order to do the entire program of screenings, as well as the workshops, as well as the marketplace sessions. All media literacy workshops have been restricted to up to 10 participants. The media literacy structure and curriculum is changed dramatically when you reduce the participants, especially when you talk about underage participants. Of course, we couldn't work with the vulnerable groups because most of the socially vulnerable groups are people with weaker or endangered health. Therefore, this year, there was a temporary exclusion of health vulnerable groups, including most of the social groups which face social exclusion. Our Agora hosting was, the marketplace hosting was done with full online access capacity for participants in a webinar form. Just to mention, the digital participation in all 3 pilots of the festival has been surprising, and I'm not sure that it was only the COVID restrictions or the lack of traveling or the banning of traveling for certain countries around Europe and the world. It's also the change of the audiovisual sector to long distance interaction. That's why, for example, in the 3 digital screening halls that we operated throughout the festival duration of 5 days, we received more than 6,000 single viewers. It means repeated viewers summed up to 12,000 people watching the films. In the media literacy workshops, we had 30 people interacting physically, but up to 700 people watching the progress of the workshop, of course not being able at this stage to really interact, but they were watching the evolvement of the physical workshop online, whereas the Agora, which was hosted both physically and digitally, reached a capacity of audience of 300 people almost. Of course, we had to observe all the safety measures, which made the festival look like no previous one. Entry-exit control, temperature taken to every person, even the staff, even the president, even the officials included when they enter the screening halls and any kind of festival hall anywhere. Mass protection, regular disinfection, so we had to organize all the screenings and all the sessions into 45-minute slots, evacuate the rooms, and disinfect with disinfectants, and then re-enter the screening halls. You may get a little bit of an image how a festival during the pandemic period can be hosted and organized. we had a hard time to recognize each other, and the festival is all about networking. So is also the educational process, but this year it was totally different. And also we had to switch, especially during the unforeseen lockdown period. In Greece, it lasted from mid-September to early May, the full lockdown. But after that, of course, with a slow release rate, somehow life came into a normality. But during the lockdown, we were forced, in order to be present to our audience and to the beneficiaries of our workshops, to operate a very large number of workshops, over 15 throughout since the lockdown. And it was covering an entire huge diversity of themes and animation techniques and target groups and everything. And the participation was vastly successful in most of the workshops. Of course, to the promotion and the dissemination of the information, equally the participation in the workshops, in the online workshops, has been helped by a very vast network of film festivals we've been building over this past 13 years since the festival establishment. And our partnership with institutions like EKOME and other institutions around Europe and the world that we retain, and we have really employed their networks, their communication networks. Most of them gladly collaborated with us in order to disseminate the fact that we were in a lockdown situation. Lockdown doesn't mean lack of creativity, doesn't mean lack of interaction, it means lack of physical connection. But next to physical connection, we have to build, and we have built to a large extent, the digital connection. We address kids, youngsters, professionals, adults, and even senior citizens through lifelong training programs of diverse regions and backgrounds. You may see that we had a tour on the left-hand side. It was a workshop done in Germany. The middle black font is made in Mexico City. The other one is in Iran. And the right one, it was about refugee and immigration inclusion, and it's called Animation Inclusion, and it was organized in Athens and broadcasted around the world. We had an impressive participation in this refugee and inclusion workshop of over 120 people through Facebook, which is a very large rate of participants. So now to say about the strategies and to talk about the policies that we may employ in order to enhance media literacy. There are two core issues. The first issue is to convince the wider society about the importance of media literacy. Many, at least in my country and in my circle, social circle, there are lots of people who are always wondering whether this is just a leisure time kind of employment, or is it something which is building reliable citizens and is maintaining reliable and up-to-date citizens. In my opinion, of course, is the second one, and is helping both young people, underage, or adult individuals to grow skills, to learn about teamwork, to learn about useful information and about critical information evaluation. Most of the societies, my society, Greece included, sometimes they think that this is kind of a luxury. So nowadays, with the widespread of the digital media and the social media, malinformation is one of the basic threats, not just to make us unhappy, but to make us even come to social fights or come to fake news and hoaxes that really destroyed our societies. We've been experiencing through the lockdown period a lot this thing. We've been discovering and not discovering a vaccine for COVID for at least 5 to 10 times. So to educate people how to treat visual and sound stimuli, if combined together and if they're provided through the digital channeling, is very, very important. The second most important thing, in my opinion, is to have at least the network of the European Union being much more engaged in developing common practices, common tools, and of course incentives for building media literacy networks within the Union and outside the Union with neighboring or faraway countries. This has been already part of the European Union policies. Animasyros and my organization has participated in in a workshop, media literacy initiative called MIL, Media Literacy and Information Literacy for Living Together, which was headquartered, let's say, likely partnered by Universidade Lusofona in Lisboa, in Portugal. But for example, the connection was not assured, the funding was not renewed, and that's why most of the, okay, I go faster. Irene, thank you so much. Sorry for this. The funding and the interconnection was not maintained, the networking was not maintained. In addition, we don't have common practices in the way we treat especially vulnerable users of media literacy, participants of media literacy. And the most important thing is, as many things happen in Europe which are positive, it's very theoretical. What I realized from our own experience in the festival about media literacy is bringing people together and is interconnecting them, making them really useful through the use of technology. So my opinion is, first of all, to make the society aware of the usage and of the facility and of the real important social goal of media literacy. And second, build on real networking. Already the networks are there, the tools are there in the European Union. They have to support it more, both financially and organizationally. Thank you.
Thank you, Vassilis. Monica, can you tell us any policies and strategies that could be useful at this stage? Can you please unmute? Ah, okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. I will share with you the second part. I promise you it will be not very long. Okay, hold on a second. Okay, so I think that I was replying a bit in my first reply, to the first question. I think that the approach, at least from what we are experiencing, is that we should address media literacy, doing different initiatives, doing different activities, proposing networking, working with other agents, stakeholders, national, European and international, okay? So the digital disruption, as Vassilis was explaining at the beginning of his second reply, I think that brings to all, at least public institutions, a redefinition of the role of the institution itself, no? In our case, we were very happy in our comfort zone of monitoring contents and applying the audiovisual law and knowing how many broadcasters we were working, with whom, identifying, everything was easy. But with the internet and this digital disruption, everything was shaking up, no? And we were a little bit moved from this comfort zone, no? So since 4 years ago, we understand that there is a change in the paradigm of at least the media regulators, and they need to include, from our point of view, of course, media literacy as one of the key points in their competences or functions, or at least work with the public authority in their countries that is working closely with media literacy. Okay, so as regards of this new role or this changing of paradigm of at least the Catalan Audiovisual Council, here you have, I think that it's very explicative what our policies regarding the protection of minors. So first of all, there's the monitoring of contents in the online world as well, offline and online. Then we do reports of these harmful contents that could be online and offline. We use also the parental control, and we work very closely with media literacy agents. And we all, of course, we impulse, we promote, and we boost media literacy actions. Okay. What does it mean? This means that cooperation, interaction, collaboration, exchanging of best practices of what we are doing now, it's for us the key element, besides this changing of paradigm that we are undergoing. But besides this, that it's, I think it depends on the authority and the point of view. I think that collaboration at all means is the key, okay? So what we are doing here, it's just an example, a very good example of this. So I didn't know Anaïs, I didn't know Vassilis, but now I know them, so we can interact, and of course we are open to fully cooperate with all of you, no? And as an example of a cooperation project, Irene, here is the EduMedia test. Okay, so the EduMedia test, it's we are very happy on this because, as you know, the European Commission were promoting 5 preparatory calls. Preparatory calls means that they want the people to start working in media literacy projects around the European Union. And we were thinking that the EduMedia test project could be a good idea, you know, to try to engage European partners. So we were speaking with Irene, we were speaking with our colleagues in France, with our colleagues in Portugal, in Slovakia, in Croatia, and in Ireland. And they were all very happy from the beginning to try, you know, to try to submit this project. There were 17 projects, and we were one of the 5 projects that got funding from the European Commission. The project started last month, the 1st of September, so it is a very baby-born project, okay? But the most important thing is the collaboration. I mean, for me, the most exciting thing, and the example of it, is how we try to work 6 different countries with 6 different cultural backgrounds in a media literacy project. So this, for me, the most rewarding, and it would be the most interesting part of the project, how to homogenize these different backgrounds, no? The EduMedia test is a self-evaluation tool that hopefully it can be ready for implementation next August at the end of the project. And we hope that it will be an open tool for everyone. And maybe next year in the next UNESCO GAPMIL week, we can present it as with all the details, no? So yeah, this would be an example of collaboration. So as I said, a changing of paradigm regarding our functions that we have been going through 4 or 5 years, since 4 or 5 years ago, and also collaboration. The CAC is also participating in different working groups because there are a lot of media regulators platforms in Latin America, in Europe, in the Mediterranean basin. So we are the coordinators of the Latin American Media Literacy Group and in the Mediterranean group of regulatory platform. And we fully participate, very active in the European platform of regulatory authorities regarding the media literacy workshop or task force that they are calling it task force. So this would be my ingredients for the recipe of what it should be done, no, in terms, and I will dedicate a little bit of time to long life learning in my 3rd response. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Monica. Couldn't agree more. Synergies and collaboration is the key. Anaïs, can you please give us your own opinion?
Well, I definitely agree with what Monica just said. Of course, cooperation is the key. We are all confronted to the same issue. So a European, a global approach on media information literacy is necessary. And we can see through information flow that we are all confronted to the same process, sometimes even to the same precise fake news that goes from country to country. So I will say exactly what Monica just said, cooperation between countries, cooperation with different actors. That's what we are trying to develop in France with CLEMI. As I say, we are trying to act as a go-between between different actors, media professionals, teachers, educators, family, experts. We have all to work together to spread information abilities all over the society. For instance, for us in CLEMI, families was not our initial scope because we are a part of the Ministry of Education, so we work with teachers, so that's our global structure, I would say, but the societal stake of media and information must mobilize all actors to strengthen some kind of continuum between school and out of school time, helping children to become smarter consumers of information and responsible producers on social media. It implies a commitment from both family and educational committees. That's why we decide to develop some content for families, for parents, because not all parents consider that they have the digital and media skills to properly assist their children in becoming responsible and engaged citizen in media consumption. So we decide that we need to help parents to reach a better knowledge of information and evaluation tools and of the digital world, and to create the condition of a dialogue within the family on this issue. That's why we developed a global sort of resource, which is the Screens Family. There are 2 guides now and also 2 TV series that was designed with the social security branch on families, so to be sure that we reach all families, and we use some humorous tone to try to talk to all families and to help parents realize that they do not have to have the technological capacity to be able to discuss with their children on what they are seeing on the internet and what they want to publish, and that dialogue is the key to help them participate in their children's digital life. Recently, we developed the new baby of this family, which is comics, called In Juliet's Head. Juliet is the teenager in the Screens family, and it is more on data and how and the economy of attention. So we just launched this new comics, and it is a new way to address those issues. So we are very happy of this product. But that's what I would say. For us, it was to reach all society, not to focus only on teachers, even though we keep on working on them, and we keep on developing those issues.
Thank you, Anaïs. Thank you. So we move fast to the last question, but it has been answered mainly by all of you in terms of what are the main parameters that we need mostly to focus on. So in your opinion, where do you see MIL that is heading towards the future? And taking into account the new circumstances with the COVID-19 pandemic, and just give us your own vision, your own finishing line, and where would you like media and information literacy to expand in the future? Anaïs.
Well, I would say for us, we are really willing to develop teacher training. We really believe that they must, media information literacy should be mandatory in the initial training of all teachers of all subjects. Because we have seen in this crisis that every subject can be confronted with disinformation. Here it's disinformation on science, and it has a major impact on society. So we do believe that every subject can be a part of the improvement of pupils' ability to understand information, to evaluate information. And it is a major challenge of lifelong learning as media and information flow is evolving, changing. So we have to train all during the whole teacher's career on media and information, so that they are able to train new generation and to help them become empowered citizens. I will finish on that. I think we all said it, but we must all co-construct an informational culture with the students. We are not a servant, we are all learning through the process. We have to empower ourselves, empower parents, empower families, educators, students on how to inform themselves. And being all empowered is the best way to fight disinformation. And I think it is the best roadmap for media information literacy's future.
Thank you, Anaïs. And Vassilis, where would you like to see MIL heading towards the future?
I may not agree with Anaïs, and just to add up something, I think that the future of media literacy, at least on the environment of Europe, it could be much more networked, much more locally focused, which is also important. Some of the speakers, I think Monica said that when you have a program about media literacy and you work with 6 different partners from north, west, east, and south of Europe, sometimes you understand that you have to bridge not only media literacy practices or curricula, but the whole culture. So it's very important when you build media literacy schemes and curricula to think about the local features of societies, especially in the European framework, that we see that the population is changing culturally over the next years to come, given the fact that we have much larger number of other religions, people from other nationally or ethnically from other cultures, and all these things have to be read. Why? Because MIL, by its definition, because it's based in a very after-war, post-war approach of building things rather than tearing them down, is built on inclusion, on equality, on understanding, and on compromise. So it's important, and it can be one of the platforms of European compromise to build a common Bible or a common code of how to apply media literacy in the future. White book or a green book or a white Bible, you know, there are lots of this kind of technocratic terms, in order to understand that each audience and each target group requires its own approach, its own locality, and its own interconnection with a global changing environment.
Thank you, Vassilis. Monica?
Very, very, very fast.
Yes.
And the last ones, 1 second. Look, I think I agree with Anaïs and Vassili. I think that here you have just, okay, hold on a second. The internet consumption, the consumption of audiovisual content, and the new connectivity habits, they are here to stay. I mean, this digital disruption has changed everything. Media literacy is very useful. The European Commission has recognized it. We all recognize it, that is a very effective tool to complement regulation, co-regulation, self-regulation. But we have, and this is a thing that we think it's very important in the near future, we have to implement real good evaluation processes. Okay, because from now on, or since few years ago, we are witnessing a multitude of media literacy projects. But we have to make sure that these projects, that I'm sure that all of them have a very good will, they are really effective. Okay, so for us to implement, and this is a thing that we are lacking of, and this is a thing that we are going to work on it in the very near future, to settle, to implement real good evaluation systems, okay, to know whether this project has had a good impact, a positive impact, or if maybe has to be modified. So this is some food for thought for the near future that we would like to recommend, but mostly because we want to do it, okay? So we think that if we can share it with you as one of the responses to the question that you were asking. The second one, think outside the box, okay? For us, it's very easy to implement media literacy projects while the children are at schools. But we are lacking of projects to be implemented for when the person has abandoned the school. So, and this links to the long life learning. So media literacy is something that, okay, yeah, it has to be implemented in the schools, in the families, but we have to keep on, you know, implementing media literacy activities throughout the different stages of the life of a person, no? Also, for example, we have to use media literacy to reach to certain communities, like for instance, the gamers. We have to implement, for instance, media literacy activities for the gaming community. This was one of the points that the European Commission was mentioning in one of their latest workshops regarding media literacy, how to reach communities outside the educative community, okay? So for us as well, this would be some food for thought for the future. Thank you very much. And okay, yes, thank you very much for your attention. Ingrid.
Thank you, Monica. Thank you. Thank you all, the guest speakers today. Let me just summarize in few points before we move on to the questions. In terms of what shall be done in the future, we need to focus on teacher training and to exercise MIL as life skills. And through a skill-based approach, we need to educate the viewers, like the audience of the future, to become screen-wise viewers, and we need to have synergies and strategies that all these will push forward, will awaken the national governments and international media stakeholders into enforcing policies, specific policies like the ones that UNESCO and the European Commission are pursuing right now. So it's about mixing all these ingredients together. So I would like to invite all of you to let's cook, let's work together and see how we can elevate media literacy in the Mediterranean and then all over the world. We don't have many questions, but we have a very interesting question from one of our attendees from Morocco. It's from Miriam Ezak Haraji. Sorry if I'm not saying this right. So thank you for such an interesting conference. What about anyone who wants to get trained in media literacy? Where can he find any resources? Are there any programs or resources to help? I'm a media professional in Morocco and I'm looking forward to implement a program on MIL here among students. I think that all the projects and the initiatives that we have presented today can give you a very good hint on where to look at. You can also join the website and the resources of the Media and Information Literacy Alliance, former GAPMIL, UNESCO-led. You can also join and get in touch with each and every one of us from our websites. We have also many resources offered for free by EKOME website, www.ekome.media. And I don't know if anyone from the guest speakers would like to add on that. Okay, we have another question from Extremadura. Okay, it's another member of the EU Mediterranean group. It's one of our members from Spain, AUPEX, and they're working on infopirina.org, which is a project on disinformation and combating fake news. It is also available in English, I think. So you are free and welcome to go and check it over. Any other questions? Some of the attendees that you would like to pose now? We're over 1 hour time, so we're about to end now. I would like to thank you, first of all, the guest speakers and the president of EKOME for being with us today, for giving us your input and your top-notch aspects and projects on MIL. So this proves in action that the Mediterranean region is not only about the sun, the sea, and the vacation, but it's also about some serious action and visual and vision and mobility on media and information literacy. And thank you also all the attendees. I know that this week is full with webinars and conferences all over the globe. So we very much appreciate your time and your attention on being here all this time. Thank you also, Despina, for being the technical support behind this organization of this very first webinar. There are more that will follow in the future, so please stay tuned and recommend. Anyone else would like to say anything? Thank you very much, guest speakers. It was lovely seeing you again, and let's hope that next time we can meet physical and not digital.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you to everyone.
Bye. Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.